her own story. She has helped rape victims to choose life. Rebecca Kiessling.
Know my story. I'll just briefly share what it is. I was conceived when my birth mother was abducted at 9 point by a serial rapist. She went to 2 back alley abortionists here in Michigan. I was almost aborted, but I was legally protected here in Michigan. Michigan is the only state that has never had a rape exception in any of its laws. And so I owe my life to the law that was there to protect me. I owe my life to 100% pro-life, no exceptions, no compromise, leaders, legislators, and voters. And let me tell you, if somebody is going to compromise on children conceived in rape, on innocent babies, they will compromise on anything. If you want to find true statesmen who are going to stand even on fiscal issues, you find someone who has uncompromising principles. I did change the heart of Governor Rick Perry and Newt Gingrich, both during their presidential campaigns. How many people can say that? Important issue. And it was both in the same evening. I am in the Citizens United film, The Gift of Life with Governor Mike Huckabee. And I challenged him. You have to know your audience, of course. And if I would have said to him, some of the slogans that I've heard from some other pro-lifers, that there's no such thing as being pro-life with exceptions, only pro-choice with exceptions, the door would have been slammed shut, right? And so that's not the tactic I took with him. I told him how much I appreciate, what he's done, and I shared my story with him, but I did challenge him. And when he told me that, I was his heroine for the work that I do, I said, thank you so much, but it's interesting that you say that. And I asked him, would you be my hero too? And I shared with him about the people who are my heroes. And then I also had the opportunity to just challenge him and explain to him that when you make that rape exception, that's like saying that I deserve the death penalty for the crimes of my biological father. The Supreme Court said that he didn't even deserve the death penalty. There's no death penalty for rapists. Even for child molesters, they said that it's cruel and unusual punishment. And he nodded his head, and I asked, "Do you believe that I, an innocent child, deserve the death penalty?" And he said, "No, I don't." And I'm like, well. And he said, tonight's event and this film are supposed to be all about changing hearts and minds, and right now you're changing my heart. And I thought, changing? What does that mean? So I challenged him. No more rape exceptions. And he looked me in the eyes and he promised no more rape exceptions. And he signed the personhood pledge the next day, so did Newt Gingrich. And so let me tell you, if you can change the heart of a governor during a presidential campaign, you can change the heart of anyone. Do not be afraid to stand up and challenge these people. Just because they're a governor doesn't mean you can't challenge them. I've had my own conversations with Governor Schneider. And unfortunately, he still discriminates. And when he vetoed a bill, we overrode his veto, because again, in Michigan, we don't compromise. Right to Life in Michigan has trained up people well here. They've never had a rape exception, they're not about to have one now, and so we overrode his veto. And when we had a press conference, instead of, the next day, we had 10 people from Save the One, from my organization, all mothers from rape, conceived from rape. And the next day, instead of headlines being about how in Michigan there's these extremist Republicans and what do they know and all that, instead it was our photo. There was in the New York Times and the Huffington Post that this really interesting group of people showed up in Lansing. Because real stories, real people are what really makes an impact. And so all of you have stories about different issues. Don't be afraid to stand up, organize yourselves amongst each other, and have presence together, and make it personal. One of the things that we said during the press conference that ended up being quoted in the newspaper is, I don't know if you've heard about Senator Whitmer. She was calling this the rape rider, right? Did you hear that? The rape rider. And she talked about her story, how she's been raped, and she feels like she's being raped all over again. Like the Republicans are raping her. It's just so ridiculous. And so, but the quote that went in the paper was when I said, Senator Whitmer And that's the quote that they ran with. So again, challenge people who have that opportunity. I have my own Pierce Morgan story. When I was on debating Gloria Allred on Pierce Morgan on CNN, she was post-abortive from rape, and she said that she almost died. She's like, thank goodness my life was spared. Oh, so she can be thankful that her life was spared, but I have to be ashamed that mine was. But one of the things I said to her is, I said, I'm so sorry for the loss of your son or daughter. I mean, I want to make sure that I humanize that child. Because she kept talking about, the fetus. So I humanize that child. I'm so sorry for the loss of your son or daughter. And you may not think that their life matters, but it matters to me. And that impacted people. Now, when I went to some training on messaging with Person with USA, paid for a whole bunch of people from my organization to get media training, this media, I'm not going to name them, media institute in DC who does training for congressmen and senators said that was inappropriate. Okay, and also, she kept interrupting me 3 times. And the first time, I knew she was interrupting, I wasn't going to let her. And I knew she was going to end up getting way more time, it was really 2 against 1. And Pierce Morgan said, Gloria would like to interrupt you. Like, what the heck is that? Really? And so he was facilitating her interrupting me. So the 3rd time, I was not, he told me I'd have the last word, and I still didn't have the last word. But I would not let her interrupt me, and I kept going, and I finally said, Gloria, I know you like to bully people, but this is the 3rd time you have interrupted me, and I'm not going to let you interrupt me. And again, when they watched it, they told me that was inappropriate, and I'm thinking, these are the people who are training our leaders. No wonder why they're a bunch of wusses. Seriously. Do you know I got hundreds of emails? I am not kidding, I'm not exaggerating. Hundreds of emails from people because I became an instant cult hero just because I called Gloria Allred out for being a bully. They may not have agreed with everything else I was saying, but then people were saying they were literally, over and over again, kept saying they were jumping up and down in front of their television. Someone finally called her out as the bully that she is. They're all like, she is a bully. Right. And so I believe that we need more heroes like that. We need people who are willing to stand up and speak out and be bold when it's time to be bold. I am really sick of the wusses, and there's some people who are so bold, and all of a sudden they run for president, and it's like, who is this guy? All of a sudden he's like all tame, and he's got handlers all over him. It's like, ew. Handlers, They're ruining it. They're turning them into puppets. I want somebody who knows how to take it to the people. I mean, that's one thing that Bill Clinton always did. He would look you right in the camera. He would tell you what he wanted. He'd take it to the American people. Because like Republicans, many of them don't know how to do it. And so I hope that we can get somebody who's bold, but they also got to have the right values. And we do need to vet them. And part of that is challenging them and finding out what their values really are. I do speaker training, but I also do legislator training. We had 50 at my training 3 weeks ago down in Cincinnati. We had congressmen, state reps, state senators, and I do training so that they don't say anything stupid when defending the children conceived in rape. My daughter, last year, when she was 6 years old, she was asking me, how do you spell the word? How do you spell the word conceived? Like conceived, what do you want to know how to spell the word conceived? She said, well, I'm writing a book. Like, what is it? She said, oh, it's a surprise. So this is the book that she wrote. She said, conceived in rape is not bad because that's my mom. And she says, rape is bad and abortion is bad because they both hurt people. Is that so hard for a politician to say? Really? Is that so hard? Punish rapists, not babies. Punish rapists, not babies. Is that hard? And it's ridiculous that these grown men are terrified of the R word. You can't say that I don't believe in giving the death penalty to innocent babies. Rapists don't get the death penalty. I'm certainly not going to give it to an innocent baby. And most of their opponents are against the death penalty. So you can easily turn it around and show how you don't even believe giving the death penalty to a rapist. Why do you want to give it to an innocent baby? It's so easy to do. What's so hard about that? And so I do coaching on that. We actually have a 5-state study on messaging that shows what the most effective messaging is on that issue. And you want to invoke a personal story because it's stories that pierce the heart in ways in which arguments cannot. My philosophical abortion essay has been ranked #1 on Google for the last 15 plus years. I'm well able to go there. I can go through all those philosophical arguments, but I notice that when I do, and we have all the arguments on our side, legal, medical, philosophical, biblical, everything, scientific, it's all on our side when it comes to the life issue. But I watch as they'll sit back, quite smug, smirking in fact, especially on university campuses, being well pleased with keeping this discussion in the philosophical realm. But we can't let people forget that we are talking about real people. And so that goes for any issue that you're looking at. Don't bog people down with too many statistics. Don't bog people down with too many heady arguments, philosophical arguments. Make sure, we learn in law school something called IROC, issue, rule, application, conclusion. If you're an attorney and you're doing litigation, you better know how to tell a good story when you go before that jury. Because it's not about the legal arguments, it's about now applying those legal arguments to real people. And that's the same thing in politics. You need to know how to do that. You take your principles and you apply it to real stories. Like, what did Larry Pratt do when he got up here? He shared all those real stories of things that have been happening all across the United States. And now you remember those stories. And then you can go and you can take those and share those and apply them. That's true on Facebook too. One of the other things on Facebook for messaging is I'm one of the content contributors, one of the 10 editors for Breitbart, One Voice Silence, Millions Awakened page. We have, I think, almost 160,000 followers on that now. And one of the things that Joni's always coaching us is that the things that get shared the most are memes. Do you all know what a meme is? A meme is like a poster on social media. It's just an image that has a message that goes with it. And it could be a photo or it could be, cartoon, whatever. Those are what get shared the most on Facebook. So if you're part of a Tea Party organization, any kind of conservative group, you want to be getting good memes put out. I use PicMonkey to create memes regularly. And it's those memes that get shared. So if you want to share an article, like Joni always tells us, make sure you create a meme and then you put the article underneath, the link to the article underneath, because then it's far more likely to get shared on Facebook, okay? Because our society is really getting dumbed down. If you're going to share a video, it's got to be short, 30 seconds, 1 minute, and you got to tell people, this is a really short video. Watch and share. And then the funny thing is if you ask people to share, they're actually much more likely to share, but don't cry wolf, so don't do it all the time with everything. Just something that's really big, ask people to share. So those are my tips on messaging, and we're going to do Q&A now, right?